Chapter 661. The Berserker's Legend. With the aura of death accumulated from tens of thousands of people who died in battle, Su Ming had destroyed the purple-robed Di Qian's protective enchanted treasures, causing his defenses to be reduced to a certain extent. With Han Mountain Bell delaying him for a while, Su Ming had also had enough time to bring out the source of his curse, the red ring. Once he put that ring on his finger, he used the grass knot doll to connect with Di Qian's soul, and with the curse, he caused the entire world of berserkers to resonate with him, causing the curse to no longer be from him alone. It had become the whole world's curse. This sort of power had already surpassed the limits of power from any sort of cultivation, and since Su Ming had offered up his life and all his power, even every fiber of his being, his killing intent had erupted with an explosive bang. And it caused Di Qian's purple-robed clone to die. If Di Qian had just sent a clone to this place, then all of what had happened would have meant Su Ming's success. He might have paid a great price, but he could still escape into the stone fragments dimension to keep himself safe. However, Di Qian had not just sent one clone, which Su Ming had only come to know after he came to this battlefield. Once the purple-robed Di Qian died, he discovered once again that there were not just two, there were three. As Su Ming lay on the grass, his vision grew indistinct. His consciousness gradually scattered, but there was a hint of unwillingness within him to admit defeat, and that unwillingness turned into a crazed roar within his heart that continued stimulating it. This unwillingness was because he had yet to complete his goal. He still had not killed all of Di Qian's clones. He still could not close his eyes. The golden-robed Di Qian's arrival made that unwillingness erupt with a bang, which resulted in the dazed look in Su Ming's eyes rapidly scattering away. A determined gaze took its place, amid the fatigue. To be able to instantly gather up his scatter consciousness when all his power had dissipated and when his life was almost gone was something that could only be done with an incredibly powerful will. Most people did not possess this sort of will, but Su Ming, who had gone through the endless cycles of reincarnation in the Candle Dragon's undying and imperishable world. He had such a will. This was a will that would not be crushed by anything, a will that would allow him to grit his teeth and continue moving forward even when the world crumbled before his face. There was also the assistance given to him by that purplish-black stone that made him feel as if his soul had become complete. "I can still fight back," Su Ming mumbled. At the instant the golden-robed Di Qian closed in on him with raging killing intent, Su Ming lifted his right hand with an effort and struck the center of his brows. At the instant his palm fell, a loud bang immediately traveled out of his body. There was also a great amount of qi that erupted swiftly with crazed force within him. The strength of that qi allowed it to instantly spread out with loud rumbling sounds, causing the incoming golden-robed Di Qian to fall back at the instant he came into contact with it. What caused him to fall back was not Su Ming's own power, but a force that had been stirred up in the world at that moment, the spiritual energy of the world. An anomaly appeared once again in the sky right at that instant. Rainbows swiftly manifested up ahead, and they looked like bridges in the air, but there was no end to them. As the air beneath the rainbows distorted, a mountain appeared. This mountain had 5 peaks, which made it look like a person's hand. It stood erect in the world, causing some of the tens of thousands of immortals who saw it to immediately spot drastic changes in their expressions. Disbelief and dazed looks appeared on their faces, and they looked swiftly towards Su Ming. Because this mountain was Dark Mountain. This is the manifestation of a berserker mark. The power of the world is gathering together, and it's bringing a change in the sky. This is his attempting to reach Berserker Soul Realm. His trying to reach Berserker Soul Realm. Could it be? Could it be that the power he showed just now was not actually one that belongs to Berserker Soul Realm? The tens of thousands of immortals around the area had an incredibly in-depth knowledge regarding the Berserker's cultivation system, and there were quite a number of them who were able to tell what Su Ming was doing with just one glance. Su Ming was indeed trying to reach Berserker Soul Realm. In the moment of crisis, the instant the golden-robed Di Qian's killing intent came towards him, he knew that he still not possessed the power required to retaliate. At that moment, he realized that he still had a hint of a chance to survive, and that was reaching Berserker Soul Realm. This was especially so since that purplish-black stone had fused into his body. It allowed Su Ming to feel that the power stopping him from reaching Berserker Soul Realm had vanished. That was why he had chosen to take that one step towards Berserker Soul Realm during this crucial moment. Almost at the moment the rainbow in the sky appeared and the instant Dark Mountain's illusion manifested, the golden-robed Di Qian was forced to move back continuously, because the endless spiritual aura in the land of Berserkers was surging madly from all directions towards Su Ming's body. Along with it came a powerful force of impact that prevented all manner of life from stepping into the area around Su Ming. This meant that the curse was still effective. The rejection from the world of Berserkers was still around. As Dark Mountain's outline grew clearer and Dark Mountain tribe gradually manifested underneath, the grass and trees in the tribe showed up clearly, and shocked cries came from the tens of thousands of immortals in the area. At the same time, all the familiar faces within Su Ming's memories who now had their identities changed into the prodigies among the immortal sects had different expressions on their faces as they stared blankly at the sky and Dark Mountain. Su Ming, his Su Ming. Wu Le mumbled. She swiftly looked towards Su Ming lying on the grass. A vacant and miserable look appeared on her face, along with an array of complicated feelings. She would never have thought that the person who had made her heart tremble so much would be Dark Mountain's Su Ming, the one from her memories. Xianxia's eyes went wide. His breathing seemed to have come to a stop at that moment. Just like Wu Le, he whipped his head around to look towards Su Ming. His head was ringing at that moment, and his mind was completely empty. Xikong and Shan Hen were both trembling, and eventually, their gazes gradually fell on Su Ming. Their complicated emotions could be seen with just one glance. His Su Ming. Dark Mountain's illusion looked real in the sky. Slowly, there was no longer just grass, trees, and houses in the tribe. People, too, appeared. Within the tribe were the elder, Bei Ling, Chen Xin, Wu La, and all the people Su Ming could not bear to part with in his memories. Perhaps these people no longer existed. Perhaps all of them were fake, but deep within Su Ming's heart, they existed. They lived in his heart, and even if these people were immortals, even if he had been fighting against these people just a breath ago, they had once been a part of his life. Perhaps more accurately speaking, as immortals, they were their own existences, but the people in Su Ming's memories belonged to Su Ming and only Su Ming. This is Wu Le and Beiling. That person is evil spirit sex Shan Hen, and also great leaf immortal sex Chen. That one is Chen Long. A commotion rose up as Su Ming's Dark Mountain mark manifested in the air. When its people took form, loud voices immediately rose among the tens of thousands of immortals. The voices instantly filled the air, and when the immortals saw the people of Dark Mountain, most of their expressions were filled with shock, because they did not know why this had happened. There were also quite a number of gazes that had gathered on the prodigies among the immortals once they saw the people in Su Ming's illusory Dark Mountain. These immortals saw the complicated expressions on the prodigies' faces, and everyone's hearts filled with shock, as if there was some sort of great secret contained within this. This secret was something that all immortal sects did not want any outsider to know. The golden-robed Di Qian's face gradually turned pale. Jian's expression turned increasingly dark as he remained in the sky. He seemed to have remembered something, and his gaze gradually fell on the golden-robed clone. Right at that moment, distortions appeared once again in the sky, right beside Dark Mountain's illusion. This time, what appeared was another mountain, but this mountain was incredibly big. As it stood erect in the air, most of the people found that they could not recognize it. Because this mountain did not belong to Eastern Wastelands but South Morning. It was Freezing Sky Clan's 9th summit. To Su Ming, this mountain was a place that coexisted with Dark Mountain in his life. Right then, it fused into his Berserker mark and became a part of what would establish his Berserker soul, a part of what he could not bear to part with. There were also some people on the 9th summit, and they were his senior brothers, and his master, people who were like his family. The 9th summit, alongside Dark Mountain, occupied most of the sky, resulting in the rainbows in the sky starting to shine even more brilliantly. A presence that belonged to Berserkers descended swiftly from the sky. As it did so, the sky distorted, which caused the light to scatter and most of the land was suddenly covered in darkness. It was as if something was trying to come out from those distortions. They continued spreading out, and in just a moment, they completely covered the entire sky over Eastern Wastelands. During that instant, All the berserkers within the berserkers tribes and clans in eastern wastelands felt their hearts trembling. They immediately put down whatever they were doing and left their houses to lift their heads to look at the sky. Their expressions changed to reveal shock, because they could feel their blood quivering within their veins. These quivers were not shivers, this was their blood boiling as if it was set on fire. This strange sight filled all the berserkers with shock. They did not know what had happened to stir up their blood. At that moment, the constant presence of the rising thick smoke that represented a berserker who had attained great completion in the berserker soul realm within one of the big tribes in eastern wasteland dissipated. An old man with a head full of red hair and whose body was covered in lightning stood silently in midair. He lifted his head to look at the distortions in the sky, and as he did so, his expression changed to reveal occasional ecstasy and perplexity before they eventually turned into a variety of emotions that constantly changed on his face. He could feel his blood boiling, and could even feel his power, showing signs of increasing, despite it having remained stagnant for a long time. It might not be much, but the small increase made him unable to calm down for a long time. Excitement gradually appeared in his eyes, and it was one that he could not calm. It made him remember a legend that had been passed down in the land of berserkers since ancient times. There it was said that when the god of berserkers appeared, then the berserkers' blood would boil, and the realm after the great completion in the berserker soul realm, which had disappeared along with the first god of berserkers, would appear once more. Chapter 662. On this day. The northern part of Eastern Wastelands was formed when 12 tribes in Eastern Wasteland fused together 10,000 years ago to form one of the 4 great factions of power, All Entities Clan. The old man who had attained great completion in the Berserker Soul Realm and had fought against Su Ming indirectly in the past was trembling at that moment as he stood in the sky above All Entities Clan. Right below him were tens of thousands of berserkers prostrating themselves on the ground. An excitement that had never been seen before appeared on their faces. The old man looked at the distorting sky in midair and started laughing maniacally with his head thrown back. As he cried, tears of excitement fell down from his eyes. Our blood has been set on fire, and the god of berserkers has been born. The berserkers are saved. All tribe leaders in All Entities Clan, come with me, to pay our respects to the berserkers' 4th god of berserkers. The time has come for us berserkers to retaliate. The old man's laughter made it seem as if he had gone mad, but it was only that he had waited for this day for far too long. At this moment then, the day he had been waiting for so long, the day spoken of in the legends, had arrived. The people from the 12 tribes in All Entities Clan let out roars that shook the sky and earth. Those roars were cries of excitement, shouts of madness. The resonance formed as the berserkers' blood burned. Long arcs swiftly flew up, and under the lead of the old man from All Entities Clan, a large half of the sky was replaced by an endless amount of long arcs. Whistling sounds rose and fell, and nearly 10,000 people charged through the sky. They were moving in the direction their blood led them. It was the spot they could sense vaguely in their souls, the spot that was an unknown amount of distance away from this place, the spot where Su Ming was. None of the berserkers needed a precise direction. They only needed to go the way their blood boiled. The closer they were to him, the stronger their blood would boil, and that was the best guide they could have. In another direction in Eastern Wastelands was a place filled with trees that stretched endlessly. Poisonous fog surrounded the area, causing this place to look as if it had become a forbidden ground for all manner of life. Even if the immortals knew that there was a berserkers tribe in this place, most of them would have been unwilling to come here. The tribe here was one of the berserkers' 4 great forces of power that stood toe-to-toe with All Entities Clan, Berserker Fang tribe, as well as all the near 100 small tribes that were its affiliates. The members of this union of tribes didn't leave their forest easily. It was as if they had cut themselves off from the world. If the immortals did not come to this place and offend them, then they would not go out and provoke the immortals. This forest was their bottom line. There was no black smoke spreading out from this forest, but it did not mean that there was no berserker who had attained great completion in the berserker soul realm in this place. The elder of Berserker Fang tribe was known throughout Eastern Wastelands to have attained great completion in that particular realm many years ago. Almost at the moment, the old man led nearly 10,000 people from All Entities Clan away and charged towards where Su Ming was. A large number of trees in the originally tranquil forest started swaying in the poison fog. Human faces emerged from the trees, and all of them had the exact same expression. shock and perplexity. These were the expressions born from the confusion they felt as blood burned in their veins. A large number of figures also appeared at that moment from the endless amount of swamps on the ground. They had the same expressions, felt the same perplexity. The kindling of their blood had caused all the members of Berserker Fang tribe to be filled with shock in their hearts. Within the depths of the forest was an empty space. There stood an old man dressed in a beast skin, and 8 people were kneeling on the ground behind him. Waves of power that were not weaker than those of the Berserker Soul Realm were spreading out from all of them. In fact, if anyone took a closer look, they would find that there were even more of these presences coming from the forest. However, the chi from these presences was chaotic at that moment, as if they were showing just how unable to calm down were these people. Gazes-filled excitement gathered faintly on the only old man who remained standing, as if waiting for his choice. The expression of the old man in beast skins constantly changed and would not settle for a single emotion. He lifted his head and looked at the sky. His eyes would occasionally show excitement, and at other times, hesitation. He could feel his blood being set on fire in his veins and could even feel a faint call coming from the distance. "I know that all of you want to go." After a long while, the old man slowly spoke up. No one around him spoke, but their desire could be felt from their harsh breathing. "I, too, can feel my blood kindling. This is the sign of the god of berserkers appearing, but this burn is still too weak." The old man in beast skins sighed lightly and shook his head. He did not dare take the risk. On the west and south of Eastern Wastelands were 2 big tribes in Eastern Wasteland that had been forced into hiding when the Immortals invaded the continent, even though both tribes had occupied an incredibly large area. One of them was hidden in the depths of the ground and lived in karst caves. They spent their days nursing their grievances and anger, but they did not dare appear on the ground, because once they appeared, they would come face to face with the Immortals' siege. The other tribe hid itself among an endless mountain range. It no longer possessed its past glory and only had a future filled with no hope. At the same time the old man in the forest made his decision, roars filled with excitement reverberated and spread out in the depths to the south of Eastern Wastelands. As they rang beneath the ground, cracks that ran deep appeared in that region. Lights containing a multitude of colors shone from within, and those were from all sorts of statues of the god of berserkers. A thin old man swiftly shot out from behind those statues and stood in midair. He lifted his head and laughed at the sky, in a manner as if the grudge he and his tribe had harbored over the years had completely erupted from his body. "The great tribe of Surging Cloud's hope has arrived. Our blood has been set on fire, and the god of berserkers has been born. My fellow tribe members of Surging Clouds, how long are we going to hide?" The thin old man roared at the ground, as if he had descended into madness. I, Xianxia, elder of Surging Cloud's tribe, had originally given into despair, but now, the light showing that we berserkers will rise has appeared. Even if the entire tribe will be destroyed because of this, it will be still a fate better than what we suffer now. My fellow tribe members, come with me to pay respect to our 4th god of berserkers. The thin old man moved his body, and an endless amount of roars instantly left the cracks on the ground. Long arcs swiftly flew out, with thin, emaciated people who looked like skeletons within them. Clearly, ever since they went into hiding in the depths of the ground, their lives had been incredibly bleak and miserable. They already had nothing else to lose. If that was the case, then they would go and fight for their dignity. However, perhaps it was because the living conditions of hiding in the mountains were slightly better than hiding underground. The big tribe to the west of Eastern Wastelands silently forced down their urge to go. Perhaps it was not because they were unwilling to leave and pay their respects to the legendary 4th god of berserkers who had made their blood boil, but had more to do with the fact that they did not dare to give up everything for a legend. Besides Eastern Wastelands, there were also those who found their blood boiling in South Morning. Long arcs flew into the air, either in crowds or by themselves. All of these people then charged towards Eastern Wastelands in the direction where their blood boiled. This boiling of their blood was like a calling. This was the sign of the berserkers' rise. Among the numerous islands in South Morning were a group of people who lifted their heads at the same time at that moment. These were the people who identified themselves as fated kin. They existed on many islands at the edges of South Morning. Some of them were scattered, and some of them were gathered together. They were all trying to search for each other, but due to South Morning's collapse and subsequent change, it was difficult for them to look for one another. The people on the fated Kin's Islands were all worshipping the statue of their god at that moment, and during that instant, they started trembling. They could feel their blood being set on fire, but this burn was different from that of the berserkers. It was direct, and their blood was boiling in a manner they could not describe. At the instant Su Ming had turned into the fated Kin's god, it was as if there was already a connection that could never be weakened or broken between Su Ming and this race. It was also this connection that existed between them that made the fated Kin feel their hearts quivering at that moment. Their blood being set on fire had caused their power to increase by a large margin during that instant. It was as if a river had been split into hundreds and thousands of small streams as it flowed downwards. A large amount of those split streams swiftly dried up, but there were also some that still had water running. But if one day an endless amount of water suddenly appeared at the start of this river, then the endless branched out streams would also change because of it. It was how the density of a big tree's branches and leaves was determined by sunlight, but also by the water at the roots of the tree. This was the power of the source respected Senior Mo is calling us. The fated Kin on the small islands that belonged to their race lifted their heads slowly. Excitement and desire appeared on their faces, and without a single bit of hesitation, they flew up together and left the island, charging towards eastern wastelands with all the members of their tribes. At the same time, there were also numerous long arcs flying out from a large amount of places among the islands around South Morning. All of these long arcs were the fated Kin that had been separated from their people. Among them were those who had remained silent for many years, those who were somber and stayed unnoticeable to others, and there were also those who had become outstanding people who stood above all others among their factions of power. However, all of them gave up everything without any hesitation and charged towards eastern wastelands to follow the direction where their burning blood and that faint connection existing within them was leading to, also that they could search for their respected Senior Mo. I can no longer serve you. Please excuse me. On a small island, a strong and able-bodied man wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed towards the middle-aged man before him. There was resolve on his face, and without any attachment within him towards the place, he turned around and rushed towards the sky. He even tore off the silver armor he wore on his body. And he left the people behind him, along with their silent gazes. Booming sounds were continuously echoing from a small island, along with low growls. Nan Gong Hen, our master has treated you well over the years. You know that. Why are you betraying him? Our master has been kind to me, and I have been serving him with my life over the years, but respected Senior Mo is calling me. I have to leave. As those booming sounds roared in the air, a middle-aged man turned into a long arc and charged into the sky. There was another small island where a young man stood silently at the top of the mountain. Right behind him was a woman, and she was biting the bottom of her lips as she stared at the young man blankly. Must you go? She asked softly after a long while. When I was young, he was the one who brought me and my entire race out of that place. At that time, I looked at his back and swore that I will be as strong as he was in my life. Now, I've grown up and have my own family, my own life, but I am a fated Kin. The young man closed his eyes, then opened them swiftly after a moment and took a step into the air. He left the woman behind him, who looked as if she had lost all her strength as she watched him silently. Wait for me. I will return eventually. A similar scene appeared on a large number of islands, among the vast amount of scattered forces of power around South Morning. No matter what forms of power or what people, they were unable to stop the fated Kin from responding to their respected Senior Mo's call and leaving in search of him. Chapter 663, Arrived at Berserker Soul Realm. Announcement. Hello, sorry to break your flow of reading like this. So someone mentioned that Berserker's legend is missing, and it has been uploaded. If you want to read the Berserker's legend, please go back to chapter 661, and then you can come back here. 3. The entire land of Berserkers was trembling. Northern Province and the alliance of the Western region were too far away. Even if their people felt their blood boil, they could not come to this place, but the feeling of their blood boiling for those in South Morning and Eastern Wastelands had caused the sky above these continents to be filled with endless long arcs. Nonetheless, there were also quite a few people who forced down the calling that came from their blood burning and did not choose to answer the summons. They were perhaps people who did not believe in the legend, or perhaps they believed only in themselves, and some perhaps did not want to give up on everything. Su Ming did not know any of these. At that moment, he was lying on the grass. Above him were an innumerable amount of brilliant rainbows, the illusion of Dark Mountain, which was his berserker mark, and the ninth summit, which resided in his heart. These two mountains had swiftly overlapped with each other due to Su Ming's will. At the instant they did so, the world rumbled. The tens of thousands of immortals around immediately sensed a powerful wave of impact swiftly spreading outwards from Su Ming, forcing them backwards. Even the golden-robed Di Qian in the sky also took a few steps backwards with a dark face. Su Ming's berserker mark had manifested in the form of an illusion and fused together. Then, with the power of bone sacrifice in great completion driving his berserker mark together, his mark would gain physical form and gather together into a soul. This soul would be able to connect with the world and absorb its power, going through an evolution similar to a metamorphosis. After that, due to the merging of one's soul, will, and blood, the person would be able to create his or her own statue of the god of berserkers. Once the statue appeared, then it would begin forming itself in the person's image, resulting in the statue's face becoming exactly as that of its owner. Then it would fuse into the body, and the berserker will have successfully reached the berserker soul realm. It might look simple, but if there was even the slightest mistake during the entire process, the person would fail. Su Ming had failed in reaching the berserker soul realm previously at the very first step. He had tried to fuse all his power of a berserker into his soul, but his soul had been incomplete. Yet now, once the purplish-black stone fused into his body, Su Ming had a strong feeling that his soul had become complete. "Dark Mountain is my soul, and Ninth Summit is my spirit," Su Ming whispered softly. At the instant these words left his mouth, Dark Mountain and Ninth Summit started showing signs of fusing together as they overlapped in the sky. More rainbows appeared above. The distortions behind them twisted even more violently, as if there was something trembling inside them excitedly, trying to break through and descend into the world. Right at that moment, Su Ming could once again feel the seal in his memories showing signs of breaking, just like it had done when he tried to reach Berserker Soul Realm the first time. Berserker Soul Realm. Today, I will reach Berserker Soul Realm. Su Ming lifted his head and let out a low roar. He rose up slowly from the ground. He was shivering, but there was a burning flame of determination in his eyes. He glared at the golden-robed Di Qian, and the killing intent in his eyes was so strong that even the clone felt shocked when he saw it. This was not any ordinary killing intent, neither was it any normal desire for blood burning in his gaze. It was a true murderous aura, and it shocked the golden-robed Di Qian because of the purple-robed clone's death just moments ago. Su Ming swiftly lifted his right hand and swung it against the sky. "Destiny is my sky." Once Su Ming swung his arm, an infant's illusion appeared beyond the overlapping Ninth Summit and Dark Mountain. The illusion was changing rapidly into that of a young man with purple hair. As the infant and mountains transformed, they turned into a strange sight that almost made all those watching suffocate. More rainbows appeared. The distortions in the sky were so great that they looked as if they were about to make the entire sky collapse. The tens of thousands of cultivators around the area were still in a rather good shape, but the golden-robed Di Qian and Jian's expressions immediately changed drastically at the moment they saw the purple-haired young man's face. There were even expressions of terror and shock that could not be hidden on their faces. "Damn it! He has actually managed to bring out a magical illusion." As Jian's expression changed, he moved swiftly backwards, as if the illusion of the purple-haired young man was an undefinable terror to him. Di Qian's face turned pale and he staggered, but after a moment, he started laughing maniacally. "Destiny's magical illusion. So what if it is him? My soul is in the world." Su Ming closed his eyes and whispered softly. Once these words tumbled out of his mouth, the world immediately started roaring, and Dark Mountain, Ninth Summit, as well as Destiny's illusion instantly overlapped. As the three fused together, Su Ming started trembling, but a brilliant light shone through the fatigue in his eyes. "Since all of you are afraid of the illusion with purple hair, then I will make my statue around this image and turn it into this appearance. Destiny will be the image, Dark Mountain will be the soul, and Ninth Summit will be the spirit. Fuse." With a low growl, the purple-haired young man immediately closed his eyes in the sky, becoming the center of the three illusions. The ninth summit was on his right, and Dark Mountain was on his left. As they overlapped, a deafening rumble rang into the air, and the three illusions fused completely together. A bang rang out in Su Ming's mind. The seal in his head was swiftly breaking at that moment, but it did not shatter completely. It was as if there was a wave of power coming from another dimension to prevent it from fully falling apart. A cold sneer appeared at the corners of Su Ming's lips. At the instant his soul became perfect and the three fused together, an illusion of a purple-haired young man appeared before the crowd's eyes. This young man had his eyes closed. His long hair danced in the air as he stayed still, but there was an endless amount of power from the world rushing madly from all directions toward him. Due to it, this soul swiftly transformed and rapidly went through the process of gaining physical form. As the soul absorbed the power of the world as if it was devouring it, a great amount of pressure swiftly descended on the place as the sky behind the endless amount of rainbows distorted. Once it came down, the tens of thousands of immortals immediately started shivering. Some of the ones who had injuries on their bodies coughed up blood and were forced to kneel down as they shivered. They felt as if they did not kneel, then their bodies would crumble. Once the first immortal knelt down, the others immediately followed suit, and a large number of them knelt down. Even the golden-robed Di Qian and Ji and in the sky could feel that wave of pressure, and their expressions changed. He's just trying to reach Berserker Soul Realm. How could such pressure and such a shocking change in the world appear? Even if he gathered the Berserker's Kismet on himself, such pressure wouldn't appear when he's just trying to reach the Berserker Soul Realm. Only if he was trying to reach the next realm after the Berserker Soul Realm would it be possible. The golden-robed Di Qian's heart trembled. He whipped his head to look at Su Ming, and as he stared at him, his pupils suddenly shrank. Jian, who had moved back a little and also had his gaze gathered on Su Ming, found his breathing gradually quickening. He instinctively tightened his grip around the fan. He, too, had discovered some clues. Solidify, statue of the god of berserkers. At that moment, Su Ming lifted his head swiftly and let out a roar towards his soul in the sky. As he roared, the soul's eyes flew open. At the instant it did so, the purple-haired figure turned his head around and looked towards the golden-robed Di Qian. Di Qian's pupils shrank and he instinctively took a few steps backwards. He might have hidden away his inner thoughts, but his retreat exposed his terror to the world. Half of the rainbows in the sky collapsed when Su Ming roared, turning into spots of crystalline light that charged towards his soul. In the span of a breath, they fused into the purple-haired soul, and at that instant, Su Ming's soul shattered with a bang. This collapse was not failure, but a sign that he had solidified his statue of the god of berserkers. As the purple-haired soul crumbled, the glistening crystalline light came towards it and fused together with it to form a statue in mid-air. This was Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers. However, right at the instant the crowd in the area saw the statue appear, an uproar rose up that could not be suppressed and reverberated in the air. That noise came from the tens of thousands of people on the ground. Even the golden-robed Di Qian and Jian were stunned when they saw it, but right after that brief moment of surprise, their expressions changed once again, and this time, shock was the dominant expression on their faces. Because Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers was incomplete. It only had one hand. It was a right hand. The whole limb was shining with crystalline light, just like a piece of jade. Those brilliant rays of light surrounded it, making it seem as if it had gathered the magnificent colors of the world. That right hand was floating in midair at that moment, and it was exuding a powerful presence that belonged to those in the Berserker Soul Realm. As for Su Ming, the power he had lost appeared with a bang right at that moment, and as it rushed madly into his body, banging sounds rang out within him. He floated up, and his hair began moving without any wind. The arm that belonged to his statue of the god of berserkers charged towards his right hand at that moment and fused into him in the span of a breath. Right then, the true presence of those in the Berserker Soul Realm erupted from Su Ming's body with a bang. At that moment, he had finally broken through the Bone Sacrifice Realm and stepped into the Berserker Soul Realm. He might only in its initial stage, but the difference between Berserker Soul Realm and Bone Sacrifice Realm was like heaven and earth. They were completely different. The power of the world fused into Su Ming's body in a mad rush, causing the fatigue in Su Ming's eyes to disappear, and it was replaced by an endless amount of brilliant light. Due to that light, it seemed as if there were stars in his eyes, and no one could look straight into them for a time. The rainbows shone, and the distortions in the sky spread out once again. This time, they did not just cover eastern wastelands alone but most of the land of berserkers. Loud booming sounds came from above those distortions, and the pressure descending from there became even stronger. His statue only has one arm. Does this mean that this person still hasn't completed his path to reach Berserker Soul Realm? The anomaly in the sky is still around, and not only has it not disappeared, it's growing stronger. Just what is going on? In the midst of those uproars, suddenly, a loud bang that signaled the sky shattering came from the distortions in the sky. It was so loud that everyone's hearts started roaring. The thing that descended was an incomparably huge right hand, and the sound came from the shock it had created as it stretched down from the shattered sky. Su Ming moved and came to stand on the gigantic palm that had stretched down from the sky. As he stood up above, he lowered his head and looked down towards Di Qian. Di Qian, we can continue fighting now. Once Su Ming said that, the pressure that prevented Di Qian from getting closer instantly vanished. Chapter 664. The Power of Berserker Soul Realm. Su Ming could be said to be the center of all attention at that moment. The arm that had stretched out from the distortions in the sky was thousands of feet long. The great presence it exuded created an oppressive feeling in everyone's hearts while at the same time bringing shock. Su Ming stood on the palm of that arm. His long hair floated with the wind and his eyes were like stars. Rainbows filled the area behind him, and the pure presence of the Berserker Soul Realm was spreading out from his body. At that moment, he had a strangely enchanting air about him, one that was dazzling to the eyes. His aloofness fused with the strange, enchanting presence around him as if it was trying to draw a picture scroll that was to be handed down the ages. If any artist could draw this scene, then it would surely be a picture that would shock the entire world. However, there were no palm lines on the hand. The tens of thousands of immortals were staring at Su Ming with complicated feelings as well as shock on their faces. They could not hide it. Su Ming's existence, his identity as a berserker, the powerful ripples of power, and the anomaly in the world had all formed a picture of a berserker who was rising to the top. Su Ming. The golden-robed Di Qian stared at Su Ming before he slowly spoke. This was the first time he said Su Ming's name right before the crowd in the battlefield. At the instant the golden-robed Di Qian said that name, it was bound to be spread through the land of immortals and eastern wastelands no matter the outcome of the battle. This name would end up being remembered by all, and it would never be wiped away from their memories. It was especially so since there was an air of mystery to Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers. It was enough for everyone's hearts to start shaking endlessly while they filled with shock, because even though he had brought up such a great and vast presence, he had only managed to form an arm. If the anomaly in the sky had disappeared, it could have been explained that Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers only had a right arm, but the anomaly was still around. The rainbows had not disappeared but had instead increased. This could only mean one thing. Su Ming's path to enter Berserker Soul Realm still had yet to end. His path to reach Berserker Soul Realm had just begun. Su Ming stood on his statue's right arm, looking down on the world, and issued a challenge towards Di Qian for the first time, from such a height. At that moment, the key to the battle seemed to no longer be about the ownership towards Eastern Wasteland's tower, but about Su Ming's rise and Di Qian's fall. Perhaps a powerful warrior had to step on another's corpse to rise, only then would he be able to strike a blow towards the hearts of all those who saw him. This blow would be like a brand, and it would be etched deeply within them. The tens of thousands of people on the scene found their breathing quickening. There was no excitement in their eyes, neither was there any agitation. There were only complicated feelings born from seeing a powerful warrior from another race. Aside from that, there was also silent respect. Almost at the same time Su Ming broke through the great completion stage in the bone sacrifice realm and stepped into the initial stage of the Berserker Soul Realm. Besides making all the people's heart tremble in shock, he had also stirred up an even more intense change within the burning blood flowing through all the berserkers' veins. If the kindling of the berserker's blood just moments ago was to be compared to boiling, then as Su Ming's power reached Berserker Soul Realm, then the term boiling could no longer be used to describe the current state the berserker's blood was in. This was an eruption, and it made them feel as if all the blood in their bodies was no longer in their control. It was as if it wanted to leave their bodies and roar, for it was set on fire. In a spot in the sky far away from where Su Ming was, near 10,000 people with the old man in the lead from all entities clan could not help but let out shocking roars. The excitement contained within those roars was difficult to describe with words, but these excited cries had been absent for a long, long time from the land of berserkers. The old man who had attained great completion in the berserker soul realm from all entities clan was trembling at that moment. As he moved forward, he suddenly started laughing loudly. There was an ancient quality to his laughter, along with excitement that came straight from the depths of his soul. Those peals of laughter were accompanied by tears and elation. He knew that he had not chosen wrong. He also knew that there was no mistake in the berserker's legend. He knew that the signs of the fourth god of berserker's birth had truly appeared. These signs were erupting madly within him, and before long, they would completely reveal themselves. The berserker's future is right before us, in the direction where our blood is burning. All berserkers will remember this day. This will be the day one when we berserkers reached our most glorious moment in all of history. The time, for the immortals to be completely chased out of our land is not far away now. My fellow tribe members, bring out your fastest speed, reveal your brightest presences. We will slice through the sky and pay our respects to the god of berserkers. As the old man spoke, all the disciples from all entities clan behind him let out similar roars in their excitement. We will slice through the sky and pay our respects to the god of berserkers. These roars shook the sky and earth, causing the sky to look as if it was swaying. The originally desolate ground also started showing signs of green, as if grass had grown on the land just to sway its body and show its excitement. There were also 10,000 long arcs charging through the sky from another direction in eastern wastelands. These people might also be berserkers, but most of them were thin, almost to the point of being emaciated. However, the fire burning in their eyes was not a single bit weaker than in those from all entities clan. They did not say a single word, but the excitement and the eruption within their blood was enough to make all those on the ground who saw them in the sky to feel their hearts trembling. This group of people were like a pack of crazed wolves, but they were not out to hunt for prey. They were instead going to pay respects to their king. The person in the lead was a thin old man whose eyes were bloodshot. The fire and eruptions in his blood had stimulated his cultivation base so much that it had grown once again, and it made him feel that he had absolutely not made the wrong choice. Hurry! Hurry up! Surging Cloud's tribe will be the first to appear before the fourth god of berserkers. We will make the first berserkers the fourth god of berserkers cease to be the children of Surging Cloud's tribe. The 10,000 people let out low roars at the same time, and their voices were enough to shake even the galaxy, causing the ground to tremble, and their speed to be even faster. Besides them, there were also an endless amount of scattered groups of figures charging through the sky above eastern wastelands. These people were all charging towards the distance based on the direction their burning blood led them. They could clearly feel the burst in their blood just now. That eruption that occurred as their blood was on fire not only made their power increase slightly, but also made the call within their hearts grow stronger, up to a point where it was enough to make them go insane. The question of the berserkers' hope, future, and whether their world still belonged to them was answered right at that moment. The fated kin had also found an endless amount of potential erupting within them, causing them to charge forward without care for anything towards their respected senior Mo. The entire eastern wastelands were shaking because of them. The members from an endless amount of small tribes had also risen into the air to fly madly towards the place where they were summoned by their blood in the midst of their confusion as their blood was set on fire. The urge the berserkers hidden within the mountain range had managed to suppress after much difficulty stirred up once again, and this time, it was much more intense than before, but after some time, they managed to calm it down once again. However, thousands of people in the prime of their youth, filled with determination and agitation, swiftly flew out of the mountain ranges. They were the small handful of people in the tribe who had chosen to take this path. They were different from the older generation. They did not want to hide, and did not want to live in the shadows of the immortals. They wanted to fight for their future. This is why they chose to fly out on their own and charge towards where Su Ming was according to the direction where their blood led them. Their tribe did not stop them, only watching them silently. When the people within the tribe where Kai Lei Qian was found their blood erupting once again, Kai Lei Qian gritted his teeth and swung his arm. About 10,000 people from his tribe flew up all together, and in the midst of their excitement, they charged into the air. It doesn't matter whether I live or die because of this. What harm would it do to me if I, Kai Lei Qian, believed in the legend this once? My fellow sect members, come with me to see our god of berserkers. The world rumbled, but Berserker Fang tribe still did not have much change. They continued to remain hidden in the forest, but on the empty spot within the depths of the forest, there were no longer 8 people kneeling behind the old man in beast skins. There were nearly 30 of them. They were kneeling silently on the ground with obstinate looks on their faces as they clearly showed their thoughts. As an endless amount of long arcs charged through the sky in eastern wastelands to reach the place where Su Ming was, the golden-robed Di Qian suddenly started laughing loudly. As he laughed, his expression was no longer sullen, but slowly changed to that of calmness as he took a step toward Su Ming. You are a person who is about to die. What right do you have to speak that way to me? The curse's black smoke was surrounding the golden-robed Di Qian's body. But when a golden light shone on him, a dignified expression appeared on his face, and he took a step forward. An explosive presence erupted from within him. Once the golden light surrounded his entire body, that presence became stronger. The superiority of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors suddenly started radiating off him, one that was familiar to all the tens of thousands of immortals on the ground. That right comes from me killing one of your clones many years ago outside the shaman's sacred mountain in South Morning. And just moments ago, I destroyed another one of your clones here, Su Ming said, his words calm. When Di Qian moved towards him, he, too, took a step forward. There might still be 1,000 feet between them, but once they took those steps forward at the same time, an indescribable wave of impact erupted from their bodies at the same time. Those waves crashed into each other with a bang, fighting to suppress the other. From the distance, this scene looked like an illusion. Right before everyone's eyes, as Di Qian was surrounded by a golden light and it looked like half of the world had been dyed in gold, the illusion of a golden dragon with 5 claws manifested. It roared at Su Ming, then flew out with the golden light. As for Su Ming, when he swung his arm, black smoke that had surged into the sky immediately spread out from the right arm of his statue of the god of berserkers under his feet. That black smoke was like the curse. As it spread in all directions, the statue's right hand swiftly moved upwards once Su Ming left its palm and furled its fingers into a fist. With a savage air, it hurled itself towards the golden dragon. Both fist and dragon crashed into each other in an instant. A loud bang that surged into the sky rang out and reverberated in all directions. During that instant, Su Ming took another step forward. If I could destroy 2 of your clones. Su Ming's voice rang in the air. At the same time he said these words, the step he took caused the air to roar, and Di Qian could feel the power of the world from all around the area charging towards him once Su Ming's foot landed. It was as if Su Ming already had complete control over the world. This was the strength of Berserker Soul Realm, the ability to control the power of the world. Chapter 665, Activate. I could have the entire world cursing your clones until they all died. Su Ming said and immediately took another step forward. The world rumbled. The golden light on Di Qian's body also changed swiftly, as if it had sensed the pressure from all the area and the endless power of the world surging towards it. Once Su Ming took 2 more steps, his chi rose once again, and at that moment, his body seemed to have grown much bigger in everyone's eyes. This was just a figment of their imagination, but this illusion remained incredibly clear in all their hearts. I have the Berserker's Kismet on me. Su Ming took another step forward, and with a roar, his chi grew to the point it could shake the universe. The golden-robed Di Qian let out a cold harumph. He had a strong hunch that he absolutely could not let Su Ming's chi continue growing, or else, he would attract even more power from the world to gather in this place. Just as he was about to take action, Su Ming also took another step forward. I have the power to reach Berserker Soul Realm. I have the anomaly's might still in the sky. Di Qian, how could you not die? What right do you have to fight against me? The final question was practically yelled out with an interrogative tone. Once those words left Su Ming's mouth, they stirred up an endless string of echoes that made it seem as if the sky, the earth, and the entire world of berserkers were roaring at that instant, demanding to know the reason why Di Qian should not die. Those roars shook the sky and reverberated in the air, turning the faces of immortals pale and pushing them back. Jian's face turned dark then, but he still remained slightly hesitant. The golden-robed Di Qian's pupils shrank. Almost at the instant Su Ming said those words, he took a step forward and lifted his right hand to point swiftly toward Su Ming. Since you used your berserker soul to gather the power of the world, then I will first take away the spirit of your berserker soul. As Di Qian spoke, he pointed at Su Ming. At that instant, booming sounds immediately rang out from the air before him. An illusion wearing a crown manifested at that spot, and as golden light shone on him, he charged towards Su Ming. There was a destructive power that could rip apart the world contained within that golden light, and as it shone, the entire world looked as if it had lost all other colors except gold. There was once only black and white in my existing eyes. Black was your soul, and white was your spirit. As Di Qian spoke, black and white immediately colored Su Ming's body as he was enveloped by the golden light, just like what Di Qian had said. Black was his soul, and white was his spirit. Gold is the light which I use to purify the world. With this light, I will purify your black soul and wipe away your white spirit. I will take away both your soul and spirit from your body. Di Qian's left hand instantly formed 99 seals, and once he was done, he pushed his left hand on his right. At that moment, the black and white shades on Su Ming's body began distorting, showing faint signs of turning into gold, or perhaps more accurately, they were showing signs of being replaced by gold. With a calm expression on his face, Su Ming slowly lifted his left hand under that golden light, and without bothering about the black and white shades that appeared on his body, he lifted the first finger on his left hand. Wind, he said languidly. At the instant this word was voiced, a strange runic symbol immediately started flashing on the left index finger, and in a moment, it had already flashed 9 consecutive times. A gigantic runic symbol appeared around Su Ming's body, looking as if it overlapped with him. That runic symbol also shone 9 times in succession. After that, there was a loud moaning sound, which was the sound of the wind as it charged forward. A violent gust appeared out of nowhere around Su Ming. It started spinning with loud booming sounds, turning into a whirlwind that connected the sky and earth. In an instant, there was no longer just one whirlwind, but 9 of them. They surrounded Su Ming before sweeping swiftly outwards. They were also a part of the power in the world, and once Su Ming reached Berserker Soul Realm, his soul could connect with the world so that he could use it. As long as Su Ming's body could withstand it, then he could endlessly gather up the boundless energy in the world. The body of a normal powerful berserker in the Berserker Soul Realm would definitely be unable to compare to Su Ming's, even if they had already attained great completion in the Berserker Soul Realm. Su Ming's body was unprecedented for all those in the Bone Sacrifice Realm and had never once appeared over the tens of thousands of years in the Berserker's history. His body was the powerful existence that only appeared after all his bones, flesh, and blood had been turned into those of a true berserker. Once a body like this reached Berserker Soul Realm, what would be born would be a terrifying existence that could not be conceived with any form of imagination. Su Ming was that existence. Since he was just in the initial stage of the Berserker Soul Realm, his speed as he gathered the power of the world was still not very quick. However, it still managed to make the wind runic symbol he had come to understand from Hidden Dragon Sect to erupt forth with incredible power. Almost at the instant it appeared, the eyes of those from Hidden Dragon Sect went wide open as they stood on the ground with the other immortals. They stared above in disbelief, because they had just seen the wind runic symbol that belonged to their sect. Yet before they could register its appearance in this place, Su Ming's aloof voice once again caused all the immortals in Hidden Dragon Sect to tremble. Rain, he said flatly. At the instant he said this word, Hidden Dragon Sect's rain runic symbol shone on his left middle finger. This symbol swiftly grew in size and overlapped with the wind runic symbol before they fused together in front of Su Ming. All of this caused the sky to roar. A violent storm swiftly formed and descended on the land. The rain poured down violently and stirred up an abnormal sight that caused all those who saw to be in shock. Rain, whirlwind, and the world roared to fight against the golden light, as if they wanted to tear apart that golden light around them. Hidden Dragon Sect's Jingnan started breathing rapidly. No matter how powerful Su Ming had been, once he recognized his identity, he had not been too surprised. His heart might have been trembling, but he maintained calm. However, when the wind and rain runic symbols appeared, His expression changed drastically. This was Hidden Dragon Sect's art, but even among those within Hidden Dragon Sect, there were only a handful of them who could master these two runic symbols. Then, right at that moment, a scene that made Jingnan's eyes go wide as his heart filled with so much shock that he almost cried out in surprise swiftly took shape. Thunder! Su Ming lifted his head and let out a low roar. Before his voice disappeared, it turned into a roaring thunder that reverberated throughout the world, causing the rain and whirlwinds to look as if they were aided by the might of heaven itself as they swiftly swept outwards. This is impossible. He actually mastered the wind, rain, and thunder runic symbols? This is... Jingnan swiftly looked towards Chen Chong. Chen Chong's face had already turned pale at that moment. He was looking at Su Ming blankly in the sky as his body overlapped with the three ancient runic symbols. Misery appeared on his face. He had mastered the previous two runic symbols, and it was precisely because of this that he had become Hidden Dragon Sect's prodigy. However, he had only managed to master half of the third runic symbol, which was the thunder one. He still could not fuse with it completely and achieve mastery over it. Yet now, that thunder runic symbol had appeared distinctly on Su Ming's hand, and it was causing thunder to roar louder in the universe with each passing moment. Lightning! Su Ming's final word completely shattered the thought of him being lucky in the depths of Jingnan's heart. It also utterly destroyed Chen Chong's pride. A broken smile appeared on his lips. Prodigy? Head disciple of his sect? Compared to Su Ming, he was nothing. Su Ming's voice reverberated in the air. After a loud bang, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky, making it seem as if it had ripped apart space. It did this with a loud bang, and as the light from the lightning, the madness from the storm, the howls from the whirlwind, and the roars from the thunder overlapped together beside Su Ming, similarly to those four runic symbols, the golden light that had covered the entire world was immediately torn apart. Once it was shredded into pieces, it completely dissipated. Di Qian's body shuddered, but he still forced his body to not move back even after his art turned on him after it was destroyed. As for Su Ming, once the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning runic symbols overlapped and destroyed that golden light, his face turned slightly pale, but there was clarity in his eyes. Since you can't snatch my soul away, then it's my turn to attack. While speaking, Su Ming took a step forward and lifted his left hand swiftly, swinging it at Di Qian. Immediately, the four overlapping runic symbols charged forward with loud booming sounds. Di Qian was instantly surrounded by pouring rain, shredding whirlwinds, roaring thunder, and destructive lightning. At the same time, when Su Ming took that one step forward, he appeared right above Di Qian and lowered his head. As he did so, he lifted his right hand and pushed down swiftly. With it, as thunder roared in the world, the right hand from Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers appeared and stretched out all five of its fingers wide to press down on Di Qian. In the process of that palm charging towards Di Qian, the immortals in the area immediately saw Dark Mountain and Ninth Summit's illusions appear around the statue's right hand. Right in between the two mountains was that murderous purple-haired young man. These three things were everything that formed the right hand of Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers. The mountains were falling on Di Qian, and the berserker soul was pressing in. All of these things were the strongest power Su Ming could muster in the initial stage of the berserker soul realm. The power of the world, which he had gathered from the area, caused the world to lose its color and the universe to change. It made Di Qian's face turn incredibly solemn during that instant, and his pupils also shrank once more. Soar to the white sky. A low growl swiftly tumbled out of Di Qian's lips as he was surrounded by the whirlwind, rain, lightning, and thunder, and the mountains that were Su Ming's berserker soul came crashing onto him. Once he spoke, the entire world immediately fell silent. The world turned black, and white flames appeared around Di Qian. At the instant that happened, a power that could destroy the world spread out, and those flames caused most of those who saw them to feel their hearts and minds instantly turning blank. I will offer up the power of this clone, and even at the price of this body being destroyed, I will execute the true form of Soar to the white sky. Su Ming, I'd like to see how you manage to not die. The golden-robed Di Qian looked as if he had gone mad when he activated that art while white flames spread out from his body. During that instant, Su Ming closed his eyes with a calm face. His berserker soul spread out, and his will fused together with the world. Middle stage of the Berserker Soul Realm. Activate.